Stephen Ross has announced tonight, didn't even sleep on it, has already announced that Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier both will be returning for the 2025 NFL season. Didn't even sleep on it, eh, Steven? Didn't even sleep on it. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Let's get into this one.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown.
And he will score! Field down the near side, that open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown!
He's going deep. It's going to move touchdown again. Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? I know, not much. You know, I mean, they say bad things always come in threes, right? Jets lost, eliminated from the playoffs, and an announcement that no changes are coming. I'm shocked. I'm shocked, and you know we'll get into it. It's just, I talked about it literally right before we ended the post-game show. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I said multiple times in the post-game show, Tua's durability is a massive issue. But Tyreek's been an issue. McDaniel with play calling personnel usage has been an issue. The offensive line has been an issue. And I'm just talking about the offense right now. My whole point was, Tua missing the game, we've learned that there's other massive issues just with the offense. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. This is crazy that we're doing this. This is. Listen, I'm gonna get in. We're gonna open up the floodgates a little bit tonight. We're gonna open up the floodgates a little bit tonight. Okay. Listen. Here is Stephen Ross, and this is the announcement he dropped literally not too long ago. Like, this guy's didn't even sleep on it. Statement from Chairman of the Board, Managing General Partner Stephen M. Ross. I want to thank the players and coaches for their hard work throughout the 2024 season, as well as the fans for their support. As the owner of this team, I am ultimately accountable for our success and failures. We fell short of our expectations this season, and I understand and share in the frustration in our performance on the field. As we now look towards 2025, our football operation will continue to be led by Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel with my full support. Their positive working relationship is an asset to the Dolphins, and I believe in the value of stability. However, continuity and leadership is not to be confused with an acceptance that status quo is good enough. We will take a hard look at where we have fallen short and make necessary changes to deliver our ultimate goal of building and sustaining a winning team that competes for championships. Smoke them if you got them. Drink them if you got them. All right, first things first. Let's be real here. Franklin, I love you, but the offensive line failure has not been his durability issue. A lot of the concussions have been about Tua not protecting himself. I think the offensive line is a bigger issue with bad penalties killing drives. Sacks that kills drive. I mean, whether it's backup or two in, we've literally had drives killed by back-to-back sacks given up by the offensive line. The lack of the run game. I think when you talk about penalties and sacks that kill drives, as well as the lack of the run game, that's where the offensive line. In terms of Tua's durability, a lot of his issues have been on him. And he keeps telling us he's going to smarten up. He keeps telling us he's going to grow. He keeps telling us he's going to get better with it and play smarter, and he doesn't. We'll see him for 1 week, he'll slide. The next week, he's diving with his head first. And I call this out when it happens. So, the Texans' hip injury should have never happened. And that was, again, him, right? Running. That wasn't the offensive line. Now, the hit he took against San Francisco, yeah, he got clocked while he stood in the pocket. But the initial injury was not on the offensive line. Okay, so that's the first thing I got to say. Now, let's get back to Stephen Grier here, okay? I am ultimately accountable for our success and failures. Well, bro, you're not even showing accountability for yourself. This is a failure. The minimum expectation was winning a playoff game. Last I checked, the playoff schedule came out for next week, and we're not fucking on it, Steven. And clearly you do not understand and share the frustration. You just lost to the Jets, bro. The Jets. It's not like you finished the season losing that game ugly the way it was to a playoff team. The Jets have been more dysfunctional than you this year. And you still managed to blow it. So, no. Miss me with that nonsense about accountability because you're showing there's no one's being held accountable. That is what you're showing me right now. That no one is being held accountable. Not one single person. From you all the way down to the players on the field. Listen, not only did you just check this one out. Not only did you just lose to the Jets, you just had your star receiver and team captain go off in the locker room about how he's out and how he's got to start thinking about his family and basically tell y'all he's leaving. And you didn't even sleep on this decision? You waited about half hour, 45 minutes after Tyreek's comments? Now, Tyreek said, I missed QB1, I missed QB1. What's Tyreek telling you? Listen, because I don't agree with the Tyreek thing. I say, hey, if you are a player, if you are a coach, you're a front office staff member, you don't want to be here, get the fuck out of here. We don't need you. We already got to thin the herd as it is, and Stephen Ross ain't doing the job, so we need it to happen somehow. But what is Tyreek telling you? He misses Tua because he's saying we don't stand a chance without Tua. I don't want to hear no more of the bullshit of McDaniel saved Tua Tua made McDaniel. And Tua elevated Tyreek, and that's why Tyreek's mad. Because Tyreek didn't hit his 1,000-yard mark because he's worried about his gold jacket and his Hall of Fame resume. And he knows Tua gives him the chance to do that. McDaniel don't give him the chance. Any backup quarterback you have don't give him a chance. He knows there's only one person in that building I got a chance with to do any of that stuff with, and it's Tua Tagovailoa. And then he's frustrated he doesn't hit it, and he's frustrated that Tua's out. And so again, I am not defending Tyreek Hill. As far as I'm concerned, bro, you want to do what's best for you and your family? You don't want to be here? Kick rocks. I'm pissed that you did it publicly, and you may have cost us in terms of capital gain back. I was hoping for a 2nd and 4th. You just ran your mouth and might have cost us. And now everyone knows you want out, so now you're cheaper, plus we're already strapped up against where we got to make you a post-June 1st trade. Thanks for your help, bro. But, Ross, you let the Jets come and embarrass you in their house. Embarrassed you. You watched your coach get outcoached by Jeff Ulbrich. DTR was the worst quarterback in football last week. We beat him. Worst coach in football this year is arguably Jeff Ulbrich. You couldn't beat him. You sat there and you watched McDaniel get outcoached by the worst coach in football. You watched your star receiver go into the locker room and said basically, yeah, unless Tua's here, what's the point? Can't win with any of this junk. And you didn't even pause? You didn't even sit yourself and say, well, I'm going to sleep on it. No, you said, write that puppy up. Let everyone know. Listen, I didn't believe the hype that Grier was going to become a senior advisor. I read it on the postgame show. I didn't believe it. It made no sense. Why would you, that would make no sense. You haven't done anything. You haven't earned a senior advisor role. Why would you make him a senior advisor? He's not Ozzie Newsome. But you didn't even give a thought to can this guy? And so basically what he's told us is this. This is basically what all this says. If we do not do something next year, then McDaniel and Grier will both be gone. And see, okay, now I want to tell y'all a little story. I'll make this public. I don't give a shit. I'm not going to go into specific details because I'm not going to put the person on blast like that. But this is where I don't understand where this is going right here. Listen, I know someone who's not involved in the organization, none of that. They came across Stephen Ross and his wife at an event, and basically in a conversation with Stephen Ross, and this is, this is just after he got back, just around the time after he got back after the concussion, after he got back from the concussion to Tua. And Stephen Ross wasn't hung up on Tua's durability issue when this conversation happened. Stephen Ross was hung up on the lack of contingency plan. From the conversation that was had, he made it known he was not happy by any stretch of the imagination by the contingency plan. In fact, he defended Tua and he said, Tua led the league in passing yards last year, et cetera, et cetera. So my whole point is he was more strung on the contingency plan. If you're more strung out on the contingency plan, what are we saying here? You couldn't have been that hung up on it because Chris Grier and Stephen Ross still have jobs. If the contingency plan at quarterback that failed pissed you off that much, you would have looked at both of them and said, Mike, you told Grier he was good enough in terms of Skyler? Grier, you've been on the football field. You come from a scouting background, right? And that's how you came up in our organization. You come from a scouting background. You enabled and didn't step in? If the contingency plan was such malpractice, that is grounds for termination for both of them if you really want to have the conversation. Just like I think there's grounds for termination for the offensive line. And not just the starters, the depth. Terron Armstead's hurt every year. Your answer was a rookie in Patrick Paul. Now, he had some rough goes today and against Myles Garrett, but he's a rookie. Okay. Kendall Lamb. Look at the cliff he fell off of. That was your answer at your number one swing tackle. Austin Jackson, he's hurt every year. Isaiah Wynn, you knew he had a setback in rehab, and your answer was Robert Jones. Robert Hunt, We can't afford $20 million? Cool. But your answer is Liam Eichenberg as a starter? The people who made these decisions and okayed these decisions or said, hey, I can make it work, the coaching staff, you need to pack your bags and go. It's the same thing. It's the same energy I kept as when, remember Tristan Wirfs was my number one tackle in that draft. Heading into that draft, I was telling everyone, we need Wirfs, we need Tua or Burrow, and we need Jonathan Taylor. Those were the three things I said we needed to come out with these, right? What's funny is, they could have traded up for Wirfs, but they scoffed at adding a mid-round pick, and then they could have added Jonathan Taylor, but they added Noah Benogany. Anyways, I digress. The whole thing with this is this. I'm just at such a loss of words with what's going on here. I really am. How there isn't change happening, I don't get it. But I'm keeping that same energy. It's the same energy as remember when Lemuel Jean-Pierre said Tristan Wirfs he would have moved him to guard and he wouldn't have kept him at tackle? You remember that? You remember when he looked and he said, you know what? You remember the quote? Remember I blew him up. Some people who have been around for years will remember that because that was when Lemuel Jean-Pierre was our offensive line coach. And right then and there, I was like, yo, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. All you got to do is watch the film and Wirfs is a dominant tackle. He is not a guard. There was a lot of people who had discussions with me and disagreed with me in this. Larry L. who used to be around. I know EM did. A lot of people were trying to die on that hill that Robert Hunt should be the right tackle when I told all of these people and all of you know he's a right guard, et cetera, et cetera. All you need to do is dive into the film on these kids, and I know a lot of people don't have access to it, but and you'll see the same thing with Wirfs. So all I'm doing is keeping that same energy. You guys have shown me, I'm just keeping that same energy. It's you are making the same poor decisions as that decision would have been that didn't happen, but was worth saying, yo, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. It's the same thing. Whoever's saying we can get by with Liam Eichenberg as a starter, that's as bad of a decision as saying, hey, let's move Tristan Wirfs in from tackle to guard, what Lemuel Jean-Pierre said. And I even raised my eyebrows when they kept Lemuel Jean-Pierre on this staff. I was like, why are we doing this? I remember this. And this is the same stuff I'm seeing. But I'm seeing it. What have I said? I'm seeing McDaniel and his staff are as stubborn as Flores and his staff, but just in different ways. And this is exactly the stuff I'm talking about. Anyone who says Liam Eichenberg and Robert Jones are viable starters, I'm going to be honest with you. People always ask me, Reason, what would you do if you were in charge? Reason, what should they do? Reason, what do you think the next move? I'll tell you right now, if Reason was in charge, anyone who told me Liam Eichenberg and Robert Jones were viable starting options in this league, buddy, I'd be dialing the Uber right now for you. I'd be pulling the app up and I'd be dialing for that Uber to get your ass out of my city. Seriously, the same people who are saying Julian Hill is worth investing in. Buddy, what? Get the fuck out of my city. A guy on YouTube who breaks down film and played the game more than 15 years ago can make better decisions in regards to those certain ones than guys who are paid millions of dollars to make that? Or what world am I living in? Oh yeah, that's why we're eliminated from the playoffs. That's why we finished 8-9. Listen, you all got to remember, Reason would have saved us. Everyone wants to call Reason a two-and-near. Reason's a two-and-near. Reason would have saved your asses 2 years ago. What did I say? What did I say? I said pony up the money because you're not paying it to Tua right now and go sign Baker Mayfield. Get the competition in the room and get a guy where if Tua goes down, you would have Baker Mayfield and he could take you to the playoffs. And look at what he's doing in Tampa. Right up the street. We wouldn't even need to draft anyone. I want Jackson Dart this year. I wouldn't have had to worry about Jackson Dart. People wanted a quarterback last year. Wouldn't have needed a quarterback last year. I said pony up the real money for Baker Mayfield. When he was getting bounced around from LA and all of this nonsense, I said pony up some money and give him a real shot and let him compete with Tua. And if he beats Tua out, so be it. If he doesn't beat Tua out, but Tua goes down and Baker takes over, we got a guy we can win with and win real games with. I said this 2 years ago. So no, I ain't turned my blind eye just because I told all y'all Tua would show up would show the capabilities of a franchise quarterback when I was watching the All-22 when Flores was around. I still never lost what we needed. I still never let the durability issue leave my mind and never think it was never going to happen again. Hell, I was worried about when we were drafting him. I was the only one in this community talking about early onset arthritis. You could be a fan of the guy's game and you can still be realistic about it. And Baker Mayfield, we'd be in the playoffs right now if we had Baker Mayfield. Hell, Tua might have lost his job if we had Baker Mayfield. Just saying. Because I was a Baker fan coming out too. And now look at where we are. And now look at where we are. Yes, I declared Tua as a franchise quarterback. The first time I ever declared it was after the Ravens win. That was the first time I ever declared Tua as a franchise quarterback. Was after the Ravens win. But I still knew he had durability issues. And that's why I was pushing for Baker Mayfield when he's bouncing around. The guy just spent all that time in McVay's system. You know how easy it would have been, and you weren't paying to at the time, really. It would have been easy to bring Baker Mayfield in, pay him a decent amount of chunk of change. He knows the offense, and he gets running. Dude, the Cleveland Browns should have never given up on Baker Mayfield. They're idiots. I've said this from day one. Just like I said, the worst thing for Baker... Remember, because anyone who's watched me since 2019 knows I'm a Baker Mayfield fan. What did I say? I said OBJ was the worst thing for Baker Mayfield. Because remember the year before, they got OBJ, how Jarvis led that team as a possession receiver, and that offense was clicking, probably the best it's ever clicked under Stefanski. And then you got a guy in who's gonna force a young quarterback, look for me. If I'm half a step open, I'm open. Throw me the ball. Blah 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 blah. And then what did we see? The decline of the Cleveland Browns, slowly but surely. Another bad signing by Chris Grier, but hey, let's not even sleep on it, Ross. Let's not even sleep on it. And you need to, like, I've said this all season, since Tua went down, You need to get the best backup veteran option, and you need to double dip and draft a guy. I've said it. I want Jackson Dart. I want Jackson Dart. Do I think Jackson Dart's going to happen? Probably not, because I think he's going to just kill. I've said this before. I think he's going to kill the draft process. I think he's going to, like, the interview process, and I think he's going to climb. I want Jackson Dart, though. But I think they'll like Carson Beck or Quinn Ewers. Those seem like McDaniel guys. You know, you also got Will Howard's in this, Kyle McCord, Curtis Rourke are other guys I like. I know Dylan Gabriel, a lot of people are going to see left-handed in the way he plays, and they're going to think Tua, but no. Tua's bulkier than, I think, well, they're kind of the same. They're just around, he's like, 200, 205. But I think Tua's a better passer and a much better player than Dylan Gabriel coming out. I like McCord and Curtis Rourke if you're looking for late day 3 guys. I do think Jackson Dart's going to climb. I think Ewers and Beck are going to be guys they like. I would draft a quarterback. And I've told y'all, there's only 3 veteran options I like. And 2, I don't think you're going to pony up the money for 2 of them. I don't think they're going to I think Sam Darnold's obviously the cream of the crop. They're not going to pony up that money, and he's going to want starter money and starter play time. I think if you go beyond him, Russell Wilson makes sense. I've said Andy Dalton makes sense. But I do think it's very slim pickings at veteran backup quarterback. Maybe you trade for one. I don't know. But then you look at a team like the Bengals. Jake Browning's one of the better backup quarterbacks. They're not going to trade him because Joe Burrow's got the same type of injury issues that Tua does, right? So you run into that situation. I don't even think Marcus Mariota is that good. I mean, yeah, like I like Marcus Mariota, but listen, it's pretty much common knowledge. The NFL stepped in. And that's what Tua wanted to be back for the Bengals or Titans game. I was told that right out the gate. It's pretty much common knowledge that the NFL stepped in this time. So you need a guy who you can at least go 2 for 2 or 3 for 1 over 4 games with. And I do think Andy Dalton, Russell Wilson's probably the best option, and Sam Darnold will be too expensive and he's going to want starter. And you need a legitimate guy. And if you want, listen, Frank Smith said, hey, we want a guy with an opposite skill set of Tua. Go get Jackson Dart. Better athlete, more agile than Tyler Huntley, much better release, much better passer of the football, much better processor. I just a much better passer in general. Like, I think Jackson Dart, and look what he did in that bowl game against Duke, right? So that's who I'd be gunning for. If that's what you're looking for in your backup, that skill set. And hey, because I'll tell you all this. I've said it before this season, I'll say it again. If you're going to move off Tyreek and you want to pull a shock move in the draft, move up and get Ted McMillan. Ted McMillan is the perfect prototype of what we need at receiver to complement Waddle and Washington. Perfect. Jackson Dart is that same perfect prototype for what they're saying they want in that QB2. And Jackson Dart can come in, and it either goes to multiple ways, and these are some of them. Tua plays well, stays healthy, you make the playoffs, do whatever you do. Jackson Dart develops, you make a decision. Move off Tua or keep Tua and continue developing this kid for at least another year and then revisit it again after 2026. Tua gets hurt, kid comes in, takes over the job. Right? Tua gets hurt, kid comes in, shows he's not the answer. Go back to the drawing board in 2026. Maybe move higher. So, I don't think you need to make a first round investment, but I don't, and I've said this all year, I don't think second and third round investment is off the table. at all. And I will say this, I do expect some changes to come. So these are some things that would not shock me. I think Frank Smith could be fired. He could be their scapegoat. And that could also be a way that they bring in a more veteran mind or a veteran play caller, whether that's promoting Bevel or bringing someone in from around the league. I don't know. But Frank Smith could be the move to watch as the change they make to the offense, bringing an adult in the room who can be the play caller and let McDaniel focus on being the head coach. And I think the other thing is Danny Crossman, I do think probably gets canned. I don't think Weaver gets a job offer. Maybe he does, but I don't think he gets a job. I don't think he gets a job. Like, I'm leaning like 80-20. He doesn't get a job. I think we saw today that those, and we knew this, right? Like, you saw how they were against Buffalo when we were in Buffalo. They didn't have a stop for the final 41 and a half minutes of the game, right? We knew this. Like, we knew exactly they weren't very good against Green Bay. Now, recently, they had shown up. They showed up against Houston, right? They showed up against Houston. Got to give them that. They showed up against a good team there. The defense was definitely not the reason we lost against Houston. That was on 2 in the offense, 110%. So, but I do think, but that's positive for us because Weaver will get more guys back through free agency, the draft, and health-wise. And I think Weaver's defense will be even better in year 2. And then I think that's when you're at risk of losing him. Like, I don't think Weaver's going to... I would be shocked if Weaver's here for 3 years. He's head coaching material. Like, if you were going to say wildly, hey, fire McDaniel but keep Grier, I would legitimately consider hiring Anthony Weaver as the head coach. Legitimately 110%. But I think he'll be here for another year. And then I think because Phillips will be healthy, and if he stays healthy, another year at Chop. You know what I mean? They got to rebuild that safety unit. Kendall Fuller will be healthy again. You know what I mean? Maybe you start seeing Ramsey get moved to safety, and they draft the corner. Corner seems like it's going to be a big need. Corner, defensive tackle, offensive guard. I do think you could use another offensive tackle. An offensive tackle that can play guard would be perfect. Like Kelvin Banks would be, oh my God, ideal. Emory Jones or Will Campbell from LSU would be good. We're in range for potentially a top tackle. And some of these top tackles in this draft can play guard as well. So, because remember, Austin Jackson's going to get hurt too, right? So, that's why I've said, if you double up in the trenches as your first 2 picks, even triple up, I wouldn't be mad if your first 4 picks were in the trenches on the offensive and the defensive side, because you're going to need another edge rusher if you move off Chop. I think you need a defensive tackle to pair with Sealer, especially if Calais isn't coming back. I think we could use another linebacker to pair with Dotson and as well Jordan Brooks. The safety unit needs to be rebuilt. So there's a lot of work ahead for Anthony Weaver in the defense, but he's going to be getting some people back. So I think there's a good chance Anthony Weaver's back here next year. The defense is even better. And I think when the guys are healthy and some more moves are made, I think next year you'll see more turnovers and more sacks. I really do. And I think that's when he gets a head coaching job. Now, again, what does this feel like? For all of us, because remember, I wanted Harbaugh or McDaniel, right? For everyone who wanted Harbaugh, you feel like you missed the train, right? We were just too early on getting McDaniel, where if we would have waited it out, you could have moved out for Harbaugh. Weaver sticking around means you probably are going to miss out on Robert Saleh being the perfect transitional and seamless replacement for Weaver. In fours, I'd bet my house they don't draft a QB. I don't think so. I mean, you think they get past the 7th? They even took. I don't think they get past the 7th. I think they could take a guy late. Like if Rourke is still around, if McCord's still around, McCord might rise though. I think through the process too. But if someone is there late, what if Will Howard's there? Now I don't want a DJU or a KJ Jefferson or Graham Mertz. I don't want that. Donovan Smith seems more like a project, so maybe he's a 7th round pick. But, maybe a Riley Leonard. I don't know. I think they make a move at least on day 3. I bet Eichenberg and Crossman will be back too. I actually think Eichenberg is going to get re-signed as a depth piece. I think Eichenberg comes back. I think Crossman and Frank Smith are the ones who are. If I had to guess without talking to anyone, I think Crossman and Smith might be the changes. Reason, now that we're rolling it back and the season over, can you go into how defenses have figured out McDaniel? Thanks for going live again. Oh, you're talking about. I'll do that for Patreons and channel members only when I do that, all right? I know what you're talking about. You're talking about from the last Patreon update. Don't worry, I haven't forgot about that. Don't worry. That'll be something that's an off-season soon thing for you guys. Don't worry. I'll do it for you guys first, and then I'll release that information. I'll release some of that stuff to the public, all right? Knight says Kelvin Banks and Kenneth Grant. I mean, listen, I'm at a position where I like there's a lot of guys that I like on the defensive line. Obviously Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, 2 guys who made the Athletics Freak list this year. I like Nazir Stackhouse from Georgia. Shamar Stewart from A&M. I really like Deion Walker. Really a big Deion Walker fan. I know Derek Harmon from Oregon. He's good. He's a little he's a good boy. He's a good player. I know Walter Nolan from Mississippi. A lot of people are high on too. I think there's some good options in that interior, man. I really like, Mason Graham, Kenneth Walker, or Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, or Deion Walker. I really want one of those 3 guys. I like Tyreek Williams right after those guys. I like Derek Harmon. Those would probably be my initial top 5 would probably be those guys. And then I'd have Nazir Stackhouse and Walter Nolan right outside that. With Shamar Stewart as well. But we'll get to that. Don't worry. That'll be a big board. But, yeah. And then, when you're talking about the offensive tackles, again, what I like about Kelvin Banks is he's a guy who can play both, right? He can play guard or tackle. I think Emory Jones or Will Campbell give you that flexibility as well. So, there's a lot to like, you know what I mean? And then when you just get straight to interior guys like, that's when you get into the Tyler Bookers, the Jonas Savianias from Arizona, Tate Rutledge, et cetera, right? So don't worry. The big boards, there's going to be a focus on big boards this year. Don't worry. I might just do straight O-line. I don't know. Because I think we could take offensive tackle or guard. Real talk. So, and then like I said, I ain't even putting it past wide receiver. I know they're sniffing around Ruma Dunze last year. I don't think they're going to be able to get Tet McMillan. I don't even think they might be around. Yeah, they might be able to get like a Luther Burden. Maybe a Mika Ibuka. Day 2 and beyond, I like guys like Ricky White and stuff. So we'll get into it. Draft season is officially upon us. I also like Princely, but I think he's more of a 4-3. Yeah, you're talking about what's his face? Prince from Mississippi, Princely. Yeah, I got him as an edge, right? 6'4", 259. Really better coming off as a 5, I think, But anyways. I mean, what do you say? What do you say? Get Reek out of here. I mean, I saw his tweet after the game, and I don't know. He's really making it seem like, I know Waddle after the game was basically, I know after the game, Waddle indicated that, he's just basically trying to say he's emotional, but I don't know. So I know they're going to have a season wrap-up conference on Tuesday. So be on the lookout for that. You've been in this. You've been here since 2000. We won a playoff game, and here we are. I just don't know. Or what plan are they really going to sell us that's going to turn this corner? What plan are they really going to sell us that's going to turn this corner and make us believers in them? Ask yourself that. I mean, they didn't sign a competent backup. They didn't make any upgrades to the offensive line, let alone have competent plan for depth with multiple injury issues. You busted out on OBJ, and then you cut him in the middle of the season. Jordan Poyer and Marcus May were disasters at safety for you. You told the media and fans they were more worried about the offensive line than they were, and than we were, and the fans and the media ended up being right. The season's ended, and your star receiver wants out. Like, I don't know how you... I don't even know how you justify not even sleeping on it. Like, it's crazy. It's nuts. I don't know what... I mean... And look at Robert Hunt. Robert Hunt's out here tweeting, come home, big brother, I love you. Like, come to Carolina. Look at... They benched Bryce Young, and look at how it worked out for Carolina. If we ever benched Tua, you ever think it would go like that? That's it. I don't know. I just don't. I don't. Like, look at the trade packages coming out. Arizona. Like, look at the trade packages coming out. The hypothetical. They're already coming out. They're already coming out for Tyreek Hill. Look at this. They're already coming out. It's ridiculous. Look at this. Miami receives a 2025 third-round pick and a 2026 fourth-round pick. Miami receives a third-round pick and a fifth-round pick, both from Arizona and Vegas. Or Miami gets a second-round pick from the LA Chargers for Tyreek Hill. I told all y'all, don't expect any big package. That is, wow. I already, because we've talked about it this season before that post-game interview. And we said this season, second and fourth or third and fifth, Are you even going to get that now that he's basically made it known? Like, those are 3rd and 4th, 3rd and 5th, and then a second for a guy coming who just had back-to-back 1,800-yard seasons. Wow. We're going to get after what we gave up. After what we gave up. Like, imagine if you only get a 2nd and a 4th, or sorry, a 3rd and a 5th, or only a 2nd round pick for a guy you gave 5 draft picks up for. We gave a 1st, a 2nd, a 4th, plus a 4th and 6th in the following year. The 1st, 2nd, and 4th were from 2022, and then a 4th and 6th from 2023. And imagine if you only get like a 2nd. And then on top of that, you paid him. And you made him the highest paid receiver in the NFL multiple times. Wow, this is life. This is life. And I got to sit here and watch AVG ball out for the Minnesota Vikings while we can't even make the playoffs. I mean, I've never called for Stephen Ross to sell this team, but holy shitballs, in the great words of Ace Ventura, I might have to reconsider that stance. I might have to reconsider that stance. Because the fact you, again, allowed all this stuff to happen that we just went over this season, and you are making a move, obviously this tells us if nothing improves next year, they're both gone. But you're going to waste another year of your life when you're 84, Mr. Ross? It's not like you're entering your first year as a freshman at college, Steven. No, Blue Sky. Tyreek, that's not how it works. Go look at it. If you designate him as a post, if you designate Tyreek Hill as a post June 1st trade, that is not how it works. I'll show you right now. But that's where he has to be a post June 1st trade. That's the kicker, basically. All right? So here, watch. If you are going to trade him, you take a $28 million cap hit, cut pre-June 1st. If you trade him post-June 1st, you save $14.97 million. You take on $12.728 million in dead money. And then if he makes it another year and you cut him after, $39 million the year after. But anyways, you save more than you take on in dead cap money. Right there in front of you. It's basically nothing can happen pre-June 1st. Like, look at. He's uncuttable. He basically, your only way out of this is a trade on post-June 1st. That's your only way out of this. Or you can try and restructure it and trade him if both him and the team are down. Topher, is there a way we can adjust Tyreek's contract and trade him before June 1st like the Bills did with Diggs? Yeah, they could. Like I just said, you could restructure him. If you have a team ready to take him on and he's ready to go on, you could restructure the contract and then ship him off. I'm sure you could figure something out. Brandon Shore, say what you want about Brandon Shore becoming a GM. He knows how to work contracts. I'm sure they could restructure and then trade him if all sides are in agreement, because that basically means the team taking him on is going to take on a bigger cap hit down the line. So if you find a team that's like in win now mode and feel like they're just missing a Tyreek Hill and they're willing to sacrifice down the line for immediate return, then maybe. And that is correct. Those numbers do not reflect the increase, and the early rumors last year was going to be another 30-year raise. We'll see. But you are correct with your comment. So, yeah, I mean, that would see. I like what Vincent. Yeah, you could trade him to the Charger, but Vincent is right. Trade him to the Commanders. Pair him with Terry McLaurin. I like that. You get him out of the conference, send him to the NFC. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, if I was Tua Tagovailoa or Tua Tagovailoa's agent, and the Miami Dolphins were gonna trade me, I would tell Tua, go to the NFC. He'll kill a whole bunch of narratives real quick in the NFC. That's what Breeze did, if everyone wants to continuously compare him to Breeze. Shout out to Penn Astrid. She comes through and gifts 5 memberships. She gifted 5 memberships earlier. Hog, Wild Fishing, No One Drummer, Dale, Short Bus Terror Squad, and Xavier Ruiz. Shout out to Penn. That's 2 straight streams where she's helped build the Phinside community. I appreciate it because we're about to enter a very dark offseason where we got to hope the draft is right and we got to hope free agency is right. Now, like I said, I do expect some changes to happen. Like, the ones I'd be watching are Frank Smith and Danny Crossman. Frank Smith because he's nothing more than a placeholder. And if internally you want to make some changes, and one of them is getting a play caller so McDaniel can focus on being a play designer, schemer, and just a head coach, that's how you do it. You either fire Smith and promote Bevel, and then in turn you can give Welker a promotion too. You can, and then you make Bevel the play caller, or you go out and get an OC, a legitimate veteran OC and veteran play caller, so McDaniel can focus on being the head coach. And then Crossman, obvious reasons why Crossman should be gone. Him and Boyer were forced on McDaniel, and how Crossman has remained is beyond me. Now, what's going to be said about the Miami Dolphins is the salary cap situation. I believe right now they have 316,000 projected in cap space or something like that. Now, there's a whole bunch of guys you can restructure. You can restructure Tua Tagovailoa right away. That saves us $19.3 million. Bradley Chubb is probably going to be released. Bradley Chubb, when he's released, that is going, if Bradley Chubb is designated as a post-June 1st cut, that saves you $20.2 million. So between a Tua restructure and a Bradley Chubb cut, you can save about $39 million just between those two moves. If Armstead returns, he can restructure, and that saves you $9 million. Austin Jackson can restructure. That saves you another $7.3 million. Jordan Brooks can restructure. I mean, they have a potential. Like, if you look at the amount of money they can restructure, they could create almost $50 million just off of restructures alone. Now, I'm not saying that's what they're going to do. I'm just saying there's our options. Okay? So Tyreek would have to agree where he goes if he has to adjust his contract. Yeah, and so would the team probably that's taking him on. But anyways, you have those restructures. So you can convert just between Tua restructure and a Chubb cut. That's $39 million right there, almost $40 million. And then you can convert another $10 to $20 million easily with restructures if you want to. The way it's designed just depends on who's sticking around and who's not. And then that's not including if the cap goes up. If the cap goes up, listen, if you restructure Tua and you cut Chubb, that's $39 million. Cap goes up $30 million, there's $69 million right there in your face. Now, obviously, with the cap goes up means prices are going to go up. What do we do with Jalen Phillips? I think they learned their lesson with Tua, and I don't think Jalen Phillips gets an extension. I think Jalen Phillips is going to have to play out his last year. That's why I think edge is a sneaky. It's not a rebuild. It's a retool or a soft rebuild, or that's what it's called, like a soft rebuild. Like that's a real thing, right? Like I think our biggest needs are like starting guards, depth at tackle. You need a backup QB. You need defensive tackle help. You need cornerback help. You need safety help. You need linebacker depth because I think Dotson and Brooks are the guys I'd move forward with, and then I'd fill out behind them. And I think sneakily you need another edge because I think they're going to move off Chubb. So then that leaves Phillips and Chop. Phillips hasn't proven he can stay consistently healthy, so you'll need another edge. And we don't know what we have in Kamara. And again, I would double dip at quarterback. I would get the best veteran option possible, and I would draft a quarterback as high as a second and third. And because of this thing, you can now add wide receiver to our list of needs if Tyreek is gone. No, I don't think you need a whole new defense, right? Like, I would bring back Benito Jones and Deshaun Hand, and I would draft another defensive tackle high that can either take over as the starting guy next to Sealer, or can be in the rotation with them early on, and I'd try to bring back Calais Campbell either way, right? Linebacker, I'm looking more for like a linebacker 2/3, a guy that can rotate with Dotson next to Brooks. At corner, we need a corner 3 and a guy who could maybe push for starting minutes because you might want to move Ramsey to safety because that could be your answer at one of the safety spots and then get another safety. And then you have Patrick McMorris, right? They're probably going to stick with Elijah Campbell as well. So there's some depth. You know what I mean? So, it's depth. And then the edge guys, I'm looking for an edge 3, right? So, just saying. Just thinking. We got a lot of needs. We got a lot of needs, man. When you break it down, we got needs. And some of them are depth needs, but key depth needs, like next man up depth needs. I think he will. He played it, it's the natural progression. He played it at Florida State. And, if you look at his career and where he's at, very similar to Charles Woodson, right? Right? And remember how great Charles Woodson was, but what did Charles Woodson do? Right? Charles Woodson, his first 14 seasons were at cornerback, and his final 4 were at safety. Once you hit 30, it's different, bro. Just saying. I'm not hating on the guy because I think he's a stud. I think Jalen Ramsey is a stud. I think he could be one of the best safeties in football. So, but, just saying. I'm just saying. Man, can't believe I went live 3 times today. Shout out to all of you for constantly showing up and showing love. I don't think Ramsey gets beat every play. He's made some good plays, but you can tell he was trailing a lot more this year than we've seen in recent years. I don't think we're going to be able to get Ted McMillan. I think he might be the first receiver off the board. He's like a Super Saiyan, Drake London. Pre-tam. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. All I know is tonight is not the night after what, no more division after what happened with Tyreek, Enough drama. All right. Started at 4. It's almost midnight. Here we are. Appreciate all of you for coming through. 3 different shows. The Dolphins are keeping Stephen Ross is deciding to keep Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel for another year. Yes, sir, I would sign. Listen, that safety market is low. I'd even make a run at Justin Simmons if you could. I love Jeremy Chin. For going live 3 times today, wish I could do more. Hey, Lemony, I appreciate the $4.99. All I know, brother, is I haven't eaten dinner. I'm going to go eat dinner. I didn't even have lunch. So I'm going to go relax, unwind. It's going to be a late night because the thoughts will be running wild and the phone will be lighting up like a Christmas tree as it already is. I will see all of you tomorrow. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you all tomorrow. We'll recap and talk about the game. Until then, fins up all day, every day. Thank you all for the support this season and today. Don't worry, we'll get this through this offseason together. Love y'all. And we'll see y'all in the next one.